What if grizzly bears were introduced into Australia? Who's that behemoth walking through the snow, unfazed by the frigid air? That's the grizzly bear. Beyond a powerful frame, he also has the fur to protect him from the elements. He's untouchable in his habitat, but there lies a place where even the strongest animals bow down to its extreme conditions: Australia. This continent will break you if you aren't prepared. But this continent hasn't seen an animal like the grizzly step foot on its soil. It's never seen a footprint that big until now. How will our bear fare? Don't forget to subscribe before the land down under breaks you too. The grizzly bear. Before our grizzly bear trekked the ocean to Australia, he had a cushy life. But what ocean did he trek? Where was his life? It was the Pacific Ocean that the grizzly needed to traverse, and in a southwest direction, because his home was throughout the northwestern portions of North America. There are several subspecies of brown bear in the world, but this one, the grizzly, he's primarily found in Canada and Alaska, along with some other states in the US, including Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. The grizzly bear is one of the largest and most powerful species of bear, especially the coastal grizzlies. They get the biggest. You'll see many coastal grizzlies reach 8 feet in total length and weigh in over 850 pounds, and these aren't even the biggest bears. Plenty weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Grizzlies are powerful, developing large muscles, especially in their shoulders and humps, allowing them to push large rocks and boulders with their paws, even rocks that outweigh themselves. The grizzly bear was built in an unfair way, because when smaller animals see this tremendous size and strength, they figure their only route for survival is to outrun him. But the grizzly can hit speeds of 35 miles per hour in an all-out sprint. As he races through the frigid forest, his enormous feet pounding the snowy layer beneath him, he closes in on the unlucky prey. His big body and thick fur keep him warm, but it doesn't slow him down. When he closes in on the prey, his massive power behind a swatting paw is enough to break the spine of some animals. And for those who absorb the blow, they still have those 4-inch claws to worry about. After the prey has fallen to the ground, the grizzly will leap on top of him, and if he so chooses, he can finish the job with a bite. 1,160 pounds per square inch of force from those jaws. This is why the grizzly is built unfairly. He has every advantage in his habitats. His habitats may be montane forests or Arctic tundras or several other landscapes in the north. Depending on where he is, his diet may consist more of berries, plants, and tubers. If there are rivers nearby, salmon may incorporate a large part of his diet. And of course, there are the land animals that he hunts: mice, squirrels, coyotes, deer, elk, bison, even the occasional moose. Other predators he may encounter could be grey wolves and cougars, who are large and pose a threat, but not enough of one that the grizzly is phased. Even coyotes, which are predators, are food for the grizzly. Most other predators are competition for food sources rather than a legitimate threat. The wolves and the cougars see the size of the grizzly and usually do not test him. In fact, they'll be happy to see the grizzly leave. They might be able to fill his spot as apex predator. But how will things fare for the bear at his new destination? Welcome to Australia, the outback and beyond. Australia is one of the most unique places in the world, and parts of it are some of the most dangerous places in the world. A lot of this has to do with its geographic isolation. When you look at the continents, only Antarctica has a similar isolation, but we all know that it is unique for being so cold and icy and featuring no regular human population. But among the 6 continents that do feature human populations, Australia is vastly different. North and South America are near one another and connected. Even the tip of North America reaches close to the tip of Asia, and Asia, Europe, and Africa, of course, are all bunched together. Australia is alone, nestled between the Indian, Southern, and Pacific Oceans. This is a reason why, though there are cats and feral cats in Australia, there are none of the 7 big cat species. This is also why there are no bear species here, and the wildlife is so extremely unique. 2/3 of the world's marsupials live only in Australia. Australia is the only place in the world that you'll find many animals like platypus, koalas, wombats, Tasmanian devils, kangaroos, and plenty more. You'll also find some animals common to other places, like wild boar and deer. And how about snakes and spiders? They exist just about everywhere, but Australia is home to some of the most venomous of both species, and it hosts more dangerous snakes and spiders than any other region in the world. While you're worried about the smaller predators, don't turn your back on the larger ones. Dingoes and 2 types of crocodiles can be found throughout the continent. There are the coastal areas of Australia, and especially in the northern half you may find those crocodiles. The coasts are also where much of the civilization is. There are forests and rainforests when you travel inland. Aussies refer to the undeveloped, natural areas outside of populated regions as the bush. Beyond the bush, that's the outback. Much of it is arid or semi-arid. The outback is a hot desert that will break you down, gobble you up and spit you back out. The dry heat can easily reach 105 degrees in the daytime and stay there for several hours. There's limited water in these areas, and you could go along vast stretches of land without encountering much of anything. That is, if you can even make it that far. The outback is not only one of the hottest places on Earth, Australia is bar none the driest inhabited continent on the planet. It's a deadly combination. How deadly will it be for our grizzly? How would grizzlies adapt? As the grizzlies arrive in Australia, they would immediately realize how different their new home is, how dangerous their new home is. Grizzlies might have the size, but Australia has the heat. Could they adapt? Or would they burn out? Grizzlies may be able to find some coastal areas that they could live in. However, many of those places are inhabited by people already. They may have to push farther into the bush, and they may push farther than that into the outback. There are cave systems found all throughout Australia, so that may be a preference for the grizzlies. There are also the forests that would somewhat remind them of home. But why is it so much hotter here? And what is with all the snakes and spiders everywhere? Grizzlies don't see nearly as many of these venomous threats in their colder climates, so now they'd have to be wary of them, small as they may be. But the heat, that's the main difference. The grizzly is suited for cold temperatures, and this continent is far hotter. However, long before their numbers dwindled and they were forced north, there used to be grizzlies as far south as California, Arizona, and even Mexico. Grizzlies adapted once. Could they adapt back the other way? Their fur is so dense, equipped to keep them warm. In the burning Australian sun, they'd overheat and drop, unless they adapted thinner fur like their Mexican ancestors had. Even with all of that, living out in the deserts of the outback feels like a bad choice. Caves and forests, those feel like better opportunities for homes. But what is there to eat? There are far less large animals like elk, bison, and moose, but there are some smaller deer here. There are wild boars, some feral camels, emus, and how about those kangaroos? Those may be the largest, most common prey opportunities for the grizzlies to stalk and attack. They'd have to be careful. These animals fight back. A kangaroo might put up more of a fight than an elk. He's got a mean right hook, but he also weighs much less, and the grizzly could withstand a punch or two just to bring this marsupial down. There are animals for the grizzly to prey on, but none quite as big as what he can find back home. He'd have to do a lot of scavenging, which he already did at home, but that might have to make up more of his diet. Finding opportunities like this would be crucial. And oh, how about the rivers? Are there good fish in there for the grizzly? No dangers in the rivers, right? Predators. Australia is a strange new world for the grizzly. The rivers used to be a completely safe place. Well, no more. Yes, there are fish that the grizzly could scoop out for a nice seafood buffet, but back home he rarely had to worry about any other land predators coming around the river, let alone any predators being in the river. Here there are not only saltwater crocodiles, but there are also freshwater crocodiles, right in the rivers. Not only will they not take kindly to the grizzly trying to deplete the rivers of their food, they don't like any visitors, and they might snap. These crocs can get to be 10 to 13 feet long and weigh 150 pounds or even over 200 pounds. Now, the grizzly has a serious weight advantage, but this croc has a serious bite advantage. They can bite with a force twice as strong as that of the grizzly. Now, the crocodile would prefer, when attacking, to be able to bite hard onto his victim and then use his strength to pull and tear and shred his victim. But that would require the animal to be smaller than him, or at least similar in size. These crocodiles wouldn't be able to handle a grizzly the same way they handle a small deer. Still, those bites are lethal. It would be best for the grizzly to be extremely careful when fishing by the rivers. The rivers are a source of food in Australia, just like home, but now they're also a place where injury or death could occur. And for the crocodiles, you have a new foe to watch out for. Don't think one bite from you will keep the grizzlies afar. They could retaliate, and that could be very bad for you. Grizzlies would also have to be wary of the dingoes in Australia, but he already has some practice living with packs of canines. He's used to the grey wolves back home, who are larger than the dingoes. It doesn't mean the dingoes aren't a threat and are to be disregarded. He should have a healthy respect for them. In fact, they may be helpful as they hunt and kill animals. If they leave behind a carcass for a grizzly, or if the pack is so small that the grizzly can scare them away and steal their meal, that would be great. For the dingoes, not so much. So what would a move to Australia mean for the grizzly bears? Those that tried to tough it in the outback, they couldn't evolve and adapt fast enough. That heat would prove too much. Those that remained in the bush, they could make it. The continent is still much hotter than their usual haunts of Canada, Alaska, and other cold places, so to avoid the stress of the heat, that fur would need to thin out over time. Luckily, in the meantime, they could find rivers to cool down in, but the crocs in the rivers would do some serious damage. If a large population of grizzlies were introduced to Australia, many would perish in a variety of ways. Some would learn from those mistakes made. They would hunt for kangaroos, wild boar, emus, small deer, maybe even throw in a koala or two. They'd be careful of the crocodiles in the rivers, and they'd watch the dingoes and attempt to steal their kills, becoming far more advanced in their scavenging game. Adaptation would be key. Many would die in the beginning of the journey, but over the years you could see a race of bears adapting enough to continue to exist. And Australia may wind up having its one and only bear species, the bush bear.